to Hucker Bay front line until a law call my number. And that's just what it is. I mean, look, man, listen. First and foremost, we rise on the 7th. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care if you're Sunni. I don't care if you're Hebrew. I don't care if you're Moorish. Let me tell you something. One thing that's universally known, internationally accepted, is that the 7 is the number of perfect man. I don't care what house you follow. I don't care what house you're in. Man was formed on a 7. So I rise, giving praise to the great God of the universe, Allah. And as I always say, Allah is that infinite being that continues to pump your heart without even charging it. You ain't got to charge it like this cell phone. It's just going to keep on going until Allah decides that enough is enough. That's the Allah we talk about. We're not talking about some Allah that make you dress, walk, talk, and do certain things. We're talking about the infinite being that helps your lungs to inflate, inhale, exhale, and you ain't got nothing to say about it. That's the Allah we talking about. Don't try to characterize my Allah with some Arab in the desert, some pale Arabs in the desert. Allah only means the God. And as we say in the Moorish Science Temple of America, the causeless cause and the rootless root from which all life is grown. Oh my goodness. What's up, family? Welcome y'all into the chat, man. I know I got my guests in here, man. We got the comedic adapt up in here tonight. We got the comedic adapt up here tonight. I got my good brother. Come on, man. I got my good brother. Rogers Bay up here tonight. I got my other brother here from the ATL. You know, he always on deck with us, my brother Hernandez L. But before we get into that, fam, let me give y'all a little recap. I got to give y'all a recap, and I hope my guests can work with me for a couple seconds. I know, see, I'm the type of person where it's though, I'm the people's champ. So they might say this is goofy. They might say this is crazy. One brother said, you jumping around acting like a monkey. Guess what, man? The Prophet Noble Drew Ali tells me, and I can feel it every time I move and to talk to my people, that he gave us something to shout about. I don't mean to yell all the time. Trust me. I don't really want to yell all the time. Man, I just get worked up, man. It is what it is, man. I'm turned up, man. This is me. Let me tell you something. My more science work for me. My more science, your more science ain't gonna work for me. And I'm talking about your interpretation on how we supposed to move. You see what I'm saying? Well, how we supposed to operate, how we supposed to function. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us that there's a work enough for all to do. Maybe this is my work. Mind your work. You feel what I'm saying? Mind your work. Appreciate my work. As the sister said, I appreciate the brother energy. Salute. You know what I mean? I mind my work, you mind your work, and let's meet on Center Street. As today, we're going to have a dialogue that we might not see things alike, but we may come to some solution and resolution. But I ain't going to hate my brother. My brother ain't going to hate me. I've been dialoguing with one of these brothers for a long time. And so anything that I say to the brother, he already know. We're doing it in the idea that we're trying to get to the point of some information. But before we get to that, family, we got 50 people in the chat. Cleveland, Ohio, how you doing, family? G. Jones, 300 Gangsters Entertainment in the building. I'm telling you, man, we always turned up, man. But let me share something with you before we start. I'm gonna wait for my other brother to come in. He may be having some technical difficulties. Let me check real quick to make sure he's coming in. And then I just want to make a little bit commentary. It's gonna take me about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna go on with the discussion. So first of all, as y'all know, this week, our good friend, our neighbors over there at Black News 102. On Saturday, they came and they went hard. Oh my goodness! When I say they, I'm talking about our good brother Sidnetta. On Saturday, he called me up about 11 in the morning, and he said, "Brother, I'm live." And from the moment that he said, "Brother, I'm live," he just went in. I mean, he turned all the way up. Man, he turned all the way up. I mean, he called me everything but the son of a law. And I felt like my main man, the European that said, winning, that means I'm winning, when he turned up like that. Anyway, after that, I went live and I made a demonstration that I gave a presentation. It said Sinetta versus Tahaka or nah, because the brother was talking about a debate. So I did that presentation. Oh man, and the presentations before that, I show how the brother put up videos about the prophet, whatever. It's been a whole year, family. If you have been following this platform, it's been a whole year since I've been doing this. It's been a whole year since I've been doing this. Now check this out. A year ago, I had this, way before a year ago, early on, I discovered that our good brother Sinetta had some footage about our prophet depicting him in the most horrible light. Depicting him in the most horrible light known to man as it relates to a holy and divine prophet. And I asked the brother over and over and over to take it down. Well, family, after Friday, the champ is here. He's here. He's here. And the brother took the video down. The video was so horrible as it relates to depicting a holy and divine prophet that some Moorish Americans, they probably would never look at this video because of the way that I expressed and the little tidbits that I gave about it. Anyway, he took it down. Secondly, that's right, call out. So secondly, we got him to take it down. The brother want a ceasefire. Now, I know he probably watching right now. He want a ceasefire. So family, I'm thinking about giving the brother a ceasefire. You know what I mean? But I'm going to ask the family, you know what I mean? Because I got some plenty more stuff. And family, in reality, I want to give it a ceasefire. But I got so much stuff that I would like to put on the table and share with the people, because no more will we allow people to fleece our people. So as of now, I'm going to give it a ceasefire. I'm going to give it a ceasefire. But look, but then there was another guy. Oh, yeah, there was another guy. And then there was another. He got this guy to come on the phone and to support what he was talking about. So family, I want you to look at the bottom of the screen, if you will. I want you to look at the bottom of the screen, right where it gives the description of this show. And what I would like you to do, as you look in there, notice that there is, if you can see it, hit the link for Tahaka Bay Live. That is my other channel. Family, that will be the channel that I will expose these guys as being disingenuous. One that we're going to expose, and I've done the research, is a new sheriff in town. His name is Tahaka Bay. One that we're going to expose is Michael Edwards. We're going to expose Michael Edwards for being the guy that stirs up confusion on the internet and then run. Now, I hope you can hear me, you know, and the elders might don't like this, but you know, there comes a time when somebody has to put the truth out and let people know who's who. I want y'all to listen up real quick. This is Michael Edwards.
And your friends may be in prison soon, and you may lose everything you have.
This is Michael Edwards.
You want to keep playing, but you'll be in prison. And your friends may be in prison soon.
You'll be in prison.
But you'll be in prison. Keep playing. But you'll be in prison. And your friends may be in prison soon. And you may lose everything you have. All because of your pride and your foolishness and your immature.
So we're going to expose this brother for being so disingenuous, acting as if he's a part of the conscious community, when in reality, he's not a part of the conscious community. And in fact, he's a mole in the conscious community. And we're going to expose this. We're going to expose this. And I don't want to do it on this channel. This channel is definitely for the people. This channel here is definitely for the people, and I don't want to compromise the integrity of this channel. So I'm doing it on Tahaka Bay Live. And I would ask that everybody go hit the link and subscribe. Hit the link. And Nelson, you will know what that is. Hit the link and subscribe, because on Tuesday, on this Tuesday, I am going to reveal how this guy is a police. He's a provocateur, and he's only stirring up mess to keep confusion going. Secondly, on Tuesday, I got one more. On Tuesday, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about this brother here. This brother here has taken multiple shots at the Moorish Science Temple of America. He continues to take subliminals at your brother, Tahaka Bay. I recommended that he just leave it alone and keep going. This is Zachary Grimion. Zachary Grimion, and you notice I got the NOI for Hame, MSTFA for Hame, Moorish Science, I misspelled, and Moorish Science Society. What that is that this brother have jumped from movement to movement to movement to movement, and created movements and try to rebirth movements. And he comes at the prophet in such a way that he want to make people believe that his research supports the prophet, when in actuality, he's actually challenging the status quo of what the prophet taught, which is no problem with that. But when you do it underhandedly, there's a problem. And I will expose that too. On here, his name is Zachary Amon Kush. His name is Zachary Grimion. Sometimes he go by Grimion L. And we're going to expose that. We're going to expose how most people with post-traumatic stress syndrome, they have a bouncing way of thinking, meaning that 1 minute they're with this, the next minute they're with that, and the next minute they don't know what they're with. That's what we're going to do. Real talk. And that's going to be on Tahaka Bay Live. Tahaka Bay Live. Okay? Tahaka Bay Live, because it's time to expose these people that are not about organization, that's only tearing down. They're not building anything up. You know, the brothers that I'm talking to today, one thing for sure and two things for certain, they are sincere in trying to build something. One thing for sure is that these guys are not trying to build nothing. Zachary Grimion L is not trying to build nothing. And so his message will not see the light of day if it's up to me. I'm going to show that the hypocrisy has hit a fever pitch, as the old people would say. And now we're going to get into the show. I'm going to show that the brother hypocrisy has hit a fever pitch. I'm telling you, I'm going to show in detail that these guys are not right. Right. They're not right. And if anybody subscribe and listen to them as their leader and their guide, they will be lost. So I'm not trying to be your leader. I'm not trying to be your guide. I'm just trying to show you in the right direction, and maybe you can find a leader in your guide. And if you listen to me, I'm not going to lead you the wrong way. I'm not going to lead you the wrong way. If I do, call me up. Email me, tahakabay@yahoo.com. I got you. I got you. tahakabay@yahoo.com. Email me. And when you email me, I'll introduce you to my elders. I'll introduce you to my friends. I'll introduce you to my spiritual guide, my brother, Azim Hopkins Bey, Edwards L. These elders that got my back. If you think I stare you wrong, there's other people behind me that can check me, because I ain't too big to be checked. With that, let's go in. Brothers, my apology, but I like to get the chat warmed up a little bit, talk to the people, you know what I mean? Let the people know. Let me speak to the family. Black Light Islam, brother. Hey, Black Light, let me tell you, some of these people want to believe that Moors have some fear saying black, but we know life comes out of blackness or black light. Light comes out of the darkness. Come on, man. You can't see light without darkness. Stop playing. Ain't no more scared to talk about no black. Stop playing. thumbs up the video. Let's go. I got my brother, the Adapt in the building, the comedic Adapt. First time meeting him. Brother, nice to meet you. Brother, come into the chat, introduce yourself, and let's get to teaching the people and talk about what's going on. Islam, unmute yourself. Let's go, my brother. We good.
Islam, my brother.
Islam, my brother. How you doing?
All is well, brother. Islamism. How about yourself, Moorish Ken?
Hey, brother, I'm doing well, brother. It's good to finally have met you. You know, I heard a lot about you from my brother, right? You know, we communicate a lot. We communicate a lot. So, brother, why don't you introduce yourself? And come on in the chat and let's begin this discussion.
Islamism. Also, the brother say he's trying to get in. I guess the link not letting him in as well. So I don't know if you can help him with that on his end.
Okay. While you introduce yourself, I'm gonna go there and send it to him. But I tell the brother, send me his email address, and sometimes it works better through the email.
Islam. I think he probably heard you.
So. Okay. So my brother, tell the people a little bit about yourself and what you stand for and what you represent, and I'll send him this email.
Islam. First, I want to rise and give all praise to the great God Allah, our Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj, Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are honoring yourselves by being yourselves. I am beloved brother, Shahid Imani Mohadi Shabazz El, my ancient comedian, high name being the same as Dr. Shedu, a mentee of Muhajjat Shepsuel. And I come forth at first and foremost as a man of no reputation. I am an official in the Moorish American government, and I am here to represent that special body, the grand body, in the best of ways. But first and foremost, represent the Holy Prophet, because he was the one who established this movement, this divine and national movement. He is the one who brought it on the manifest. So we just want to give to our Moorish kin, and hopefully some of the cobwebs of confusion from the hearts and minds of our people, and that we can establish some unity. You know, because I've been here for years on the manifest watching my Moorish kin, and it's just sad to see that there's so much opposition, and a lot of time it's miscommunication, you know. So that's why I have been longing for this discussion, and I want to give honors to you, brother, you know, for being as bold as you are. I like your show. I honor you, you know, for the measure that you're bringing on the manifest, and this is what it's about, you know, at the end of the day. And hopefully by the end of this special class, you know, that's what I would call it, on discussion, we can actually show, you know, what supports, because that's what we want to get at, regardless of what perspectives I may be coming from. Does the prophet teaching support that? You know, so absolutely. I stand down and let you come forth.
Absolutely, brother. And I appreciate that you said that, because one of the main things that we want to do is see and show and prove that the prophet teachings actually support what we say we stand for, because we can't stand for something that the prophet don't support. So I'm glad that you said that. With that, I got my brother Hernandez El. I just sent the brother the link, by the way, so my brother should be in a minute. Brother Hernandez El, are you there, my brother? I see his icon, but he might be eating some veggie patty. Let me tell you something. This brother Hernandez El, he's a vegan chef. So he might eat a vegan patty or something. He's a vegan chef. He might be brewing something, mixing something, doing something. I don't know. So anyway, let's get straight to it. Brother, what exactly is the Moorish American government, or Moorish? Let me say it like this. When I go to the website, it says Moorish American government, right? What exactly is the Moorish American government for the people who are not familiar with it?
Islam. Islam. That's a great question because that's exactly where I would have started. Well, I want to first and foremost say this. In the Moorish American government, we recognize that there's a need to demonstrate self-determination. And in demonstrating self-determination, it is not to bring about opposition to the temple. We honor the temple. You know, we just know the histories that took place, and that's not a negative statement. And we know most of our people don't know that the prophet established his temple as an education apparatus. I know you know that, you know. He told us that we ought to teach our people the divine creed and their nationality. And so the government is not in conflict with that. And it has been a lot of people who thought the government was established as some opposition. And they say, well, why did the Constitution get changed or the flag? And what many don't know is the master phrase, you know, is dealing with what we call grand unfoldment. In other words, the prophet said this, because we want to deal with his law. He said that he was going to leave the European here long enough to teach you Moors, us Moorish kin, how to run a government. Now, we know that if we go into his teachings, we know that he established his Moorish divine and national movement with an intended purpose of uniting the Asiatic states. And he established his temple to ensure that our people become better citizens. At this special time, when he did this, we understand that his intention was to bring our people into a knowledge of how to be citizens, so eventually they would come into their own power and establish their government under his laws. And so people see a conflict when they see citizen in our divine constitution. And the thing is, what they ain't looking at is unfoldment. You know, an unfoldment is that the law that the prophet established was the same law that was utilized in his temple, that is utilized in his temple. So instead of us, you know, just being solely members, and there's nothing wrong with that, now in unfoldment, we become citizens of our government, you know, and that's basically the gist of that aspect.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to dealing with our own government, we see a lot of our people complaining about what the European is doing. You know, they're shooting us down, and these things are going on. I want to say, you know, I feel our unconscious as well being Moorish conscious kin, you know, in regards to dealing with this, because, you know, I got revolutionary roots in me as well. You know, I came up through the teachings of the Black Panther Party, through the lineage, you know, of the likes of the sister Afeni, you know, Shakur. I was taught by one who was taught by one, you know, so that our people are not Black when it comes to their nationality. You know, I'm very familiar with the teachings of our beloved brother Elijah Poole Bey in the Nation of Islam. I'm mentioning all this for a reason. You know, however, I know that there is not government coming out of that special area, even though he instructed this in the Theology of Time. For example, Marcus Mosai Garvey L. stated that we are moving from one organization to another, and therefore we would unfold, and I'm paraphrasing, into government. You know, Noble Drew Ali made the statement that I just said he made, and Elijah Poole Bey made the statement to those who were following him that there would have to be a new ruler on the manifest and a new government. And I know you're familiar with it, beloved, because you in the area where the science pretty much was running rampant. You know, so the key is, why haven't we established ourselves as a government? You know, and regardless of us, some people say, well, we under the United States government. You know, and they are entitled to believe that because the prophet did found the temple, pardon himself, under you know, that is special law. That's not being denied. You know, we want our Moorish kin to get that understanding as well. But we know self-determination is when we ourselves will begin to build our own nation. And by him teaching us how to run a government by leaving the European here, it really means that he was teaching us what not to do, you know, by teaching us to be ourselves. So I'll stop there, brother, and let you come forth again. And that's where the Moorish American government comes from.
Hold on, I dropped the signal. I was trying to get my brother in. I'm going to get him back in. He's going to call back in a second. But let's get straight to the meat of it. So when we look at the Moorish American government, are you saying that you are a sovereign government, that you're separate from the government of the United States of America? When I say sovereign, brother, trust me, I'm not taking no shot. I'm only using the words that says that you are independent of the United States. Is that what the Moorish American government or the government of Moorish America is?
Well, I say this. This is what we say when we speak.
You hear me, my brother?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
We got him in. We got him in, brother. But go ahead, my brother. Okay. You get into that.
Yes, sir. Islam. We don't. I put it this way: in the government, we don't teach, you know, individual sovereignty. For one, you know, we are against individual sovereignty because there is no sovereignty without a nation as a whole. So what we emphasize is theocracy. And theocracy or theocratic rule is rule under the great God Allah. If you are familiar with theocratic law, then you know that theocratic law was established in Al-Islam, for example. When you deal with the Sharia, you know, if you go into dealing with Judaism, there was theocratic law involved. And to go back to the most ancient form of expression of theocratic law, you know, you're dealing with Ma'atic law. You know, so when we deal with our sovereignty comes from our divinity, but we don't promote sovereign citizenship along the lines of UCC. All that's against what the prophet taught to us. It's
so the question that I'm asking is, like, for instance, when you look at what happened in Palestine with the Israelis and the PLO, and they separated from Israel, you know, because Israel, whatever. I don't want to get to that conversation. That's another conversation. But the PLO wanted to establish their sovereignty as a nation of people. I'm asking is the Moorish American government that y'all are a part of and a citizen of, is it a sovereign government, or is it still connected to the United States government?
When you go into, again, the language of theocracy, that's what I was speaking of when I say our sovereignty comes through our divinity. You see,
no, I'm not. What I'm saying,
that's why
maybe I can ask it another way because I want to get to the answer. The Prophet Obadiah Ali says, he makes a statement that says, and we're returning to Islam for our earthly and divine salvation. There's two parts.
Islam.
We got national and divine. What I'm asking for, on the national level, is your government a sovereign entity unto itself, like United States, Mexico, Russia, Moorish America? That's what I'm asking.
Islam. But what you are speaking of, my brother, is succession. You know, when you succeed and you break off from a particular measure and you become the law of your land, you know, and that's what I'm getting at. That's why I emphasize that our sovereignty comes through the great God. I know where you're coming from, but yes, we are establishing our own government. You know, we have established our own government, and it's been acknowledged by the UN.
Okay, no.
They have answered this. We got documents on that.
The only thing I'm saying is, like, some new newly established governments, right? They are actually independent.
Yes, sir.
It's an island. It's an island. I think it's in the and out in the west. It's an island where God bought an island and he established as an independent sovereign state. That's all I'm asking. Is the Moorish American government a sovereign state, or is it working towards to being an independent sovereign state as it intermingles with the United States government?
Let me aid and assist you a little bit. When you deal with the establishment of a newly formed government, you don't go automatically to sovereign state status. You go into nation state status.
Okay.
So when you become a nation state, then you become recognized, as a government, by the world. So, for example, when we went to the UN, and this was in 2007, a lot of Moors were there. When we went there, this was to let the world know that we were on the manifest, not seeking some type of authority from them, because you have the right, if you wanted to take your family right now and go and say, well, we are going to establish a government. We have our own land, we have our own flag, we got our own seal. You have a right to do that. That's a God-given right. So it's not an act of rebellion.
Oh, no. I don't want to give that impression that I'm saying that. I'm just trying to bring it for clarity, because when we look at people calling themselves governments, we ask, I think one of the most important questions need to be asked. Is it a government as we know government? As for instance, when the United States established itself as the colonies, and then they went on to say, you know what? Britain, we done. And we separate. That's what I was asking. But with that, let me bring my brother in real quick. Rogers Bay, are you there, my brother?
Yeah. What?
Steady. You break it up a little bit. Hold up.
Right.
I think you hold up.
Islam. First, let me rise. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, come on.
You hear me now?
Yes, sir. Good.
All right, so good. So, like I said, let me rise giving honest to the Father God Allah, honest to Prophet Noble Drowley, honest to Act 1, honest to you, Tahaka, for actually hosting this discussion and getting, I guess, the people a chance to see exactly what's being offered. What you're asking in the question is, have we basically just become a full-blown, it's something what you call going through a transition. Now that transition stage is, there is nothing wrong with being a transitional stage, because even before the United States was considered a sovereign government, they had to start something. Then that's why how everybody said, well, who was the first government to recognize the United States, which was Morocco.
So I'm with you on that, my brother. But the thing is, I'm not questioning the validity of what you're saying. The only thing I was trying to get clarity is because we got brothers that call themselves the United States Republic, a Moorish group. We got Merit Kush, a Moorish group. We got tons and tons of Moorish group that claim to be governments. And so I wanted to bring clarity to the people exactly what we're talking about when we say that this is the Moorish American government. That's all. Not saying it's right or wrong, just clarity to the people.
Islam. We give honest to you, brother, but yes, sir. Basically, I'm giving you the answer, but I'm giving you insight into that answer at the same time.
Absolutely.
Because I want you to have a clarity on why and what stage we in. We call it an embryo stage. But I'm giving you the processes and the steps that you have to go through in order to become government.
And brother, I get that very clearly, that which is basically saying is you're not a sovereign government as of yet, but there will come a time, inshallah, that you will be a sovereign government and unfold into a full-fledged sovereign government nation. I get it. So with that, Brother Rogers Bay, anything you want to add before I go into my next question? Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Anything you wish to add before I go into my next question?
Yeah. Well, yes, let me just read this part right here. From the yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you should cut your TV down or your computer down.
Yeah, just let me read this part from the Declaration of Independence from the United States itself. Oh, okay. Hold on. All right. How about now?
Yeah, come on. Let's go.
All right,
I hear you, my brother. Let's hear what you got.
All right. The quick readings, right? Just to let you see that we're within law. So we have to take our minds back to when the United States was actually being formulated, right? Here was what was written. We've already established that our people are being gunned down. We don't have no recourse. We don't have anything such as that, right? So here's what was being said. The United States was in the same process with having issues with their forefathers, which is Great Britain. And they said, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for a people to dissolve the political bands which connected them with another, to assume among the powers of earth, to separate and equal stations. Now that's the crazy part. Station, what is that station? It is actually nation government, right? To which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impelled them to that separation. Okay? That separation that we're speaking of, it's something that comes from God that was actually brought forth and the manifest. The problem is that what we're doing is that unfoldment.
Islam, I think we lost the brother.
They are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights that are among these, which is what the right to self-determination.
Brother Bay, go back a few seconds when you said endowed with rights, because I made a mistake, hit the mute button on myself, and I forgot that you're coming through there. And somebody, because the people say that you're echoing, so I need my brother Moorish Comedic Adapt to mute his mic while he's talking. I think that's where the echo coming from. I thought it was me.
Okay.
Hold up.
Yeah, when you finish talking, mute your mic, because I think that's where the echo in the chat. They saying it's an echo real bad.
Okay. When it says unalienable rights, so we're gonna say we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. All men. You remember at one time we were property, so it says men, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable, that among these are there is only one way for that people to do what? Gain the rights and respect. That's why Drew Ali and even Marcus Garvey said that nationhood is the highest ideal. Not only for what? The protection of the individual, but also the protection of who? The whole in general. Because you're not going to get that liberty or that true freedom unless you can determine or demonstrate that you are able to do such.
Islam, brother. I think we're having two different conversations. With all due respect, I'm not really at the point of dialoguing on the purpose of establishing and why government is instituted. I think we can be all agree on why it is instituted and the purpose of it. But I think the conversation now says, is this what the prophet wanted for us? You know, that brings me to this. And brother, this is a respectful conversation, but I got to share things, and we need some clarity. When you say that you are a government and we follow a holy and divine prophet, and please don't take this the wrong way, I just got to call it how it is. When we say we follow a holy and divine prophet, and the prophet created the Moorish Science Temple of America, the divine constitution and bylaws. And when we start to talking about divine constitution and bylaws, it's hard for me to digest that the prophet at any time meant for this document to be changed. That's just me, you know what I mean? And I don't want people to think that I'm so religious and proselytized, and that's not what it is. When I look at a divine constitution and bylaws, and then I see somebody changing it for the sake of starting a government, I'm saying to myself, why not create just a new constitution and leave this alone? Anybody want to add on to that?
It's Islam. Can you hear me, my brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I can answer that. See, again, we have to go back to the word unfoldment. It's not a change. It is actually utilizing the law, like our prophet said in the Moorish Holy Quran. When he said that, for example, the subordinate temples, he had actually given them power to create customs and law, basically, that are in conjunction with his law. So if we establish government, then that government that is established, its law should surely be seated in the law that the prophet laid down. And so basically the same constitution that we have is the constitution that he brought. The only difference is that you see citizens instead of us just being in the earlier stages of being members, you know, and we understand that structure. So we took that foundation, and that is supreme unfoldment, rather than creating a whole new constitution and writing up a whole bunch of everything else. It's unfoldment. And it is basically the prophet. This is how we look at it. The prophet established this government from the soul plane. You know, in other words, we didn't act on our own. It was the great God Allah. Thought was the cause of it all, you see. So when he impressed the thought in the mind of the brother, and that thought then became manifest in this era of time, we being extensions of that same thought, we embrace that measure and we bring it on to manifest in honor of the prophet. We don't even uplift the brother, you know, who was the vessel of it coming on to manifest. And that was his instruction. I didn't do nothing. I didn't bring you no flag. I didn't bring you no divine constitution, because a lot of people like to put the flag, you know, on his name. And all of that came from a drive that brother had. And he was 40 years in the MST of A. You know what I'm saying? He was there in that body. He was a part of the grand body with most of these people. He took care of the prophets' wives and everything. But that's neither here nor there. The main thing is that our law would have to be seated in the prophet's law.
Only thing, when I look at the prophet, say in conjunction means to me is to create your own laws, not change the prophet laws. You know, it said, the prophet says in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, each subordinate temple is to create their own laws in conjunction with Grand Major Temple. Now, I don't know how we can say in good conscience to say that this is in conjunction. Let me read. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law. That's Act 1. Act 1 in the Divine Constitution of Moorish America, the Grand Sheikh and the chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law. So I'm saying we're changing. That's not conjunction. Those are two different things. What you have to say about that, my brother Rogers Bay? Brother Rogers Bay, whatever you got on, it's an echo. It's giving the people an echo, my brother.
Islam, Moorish Ken.
Yes, sir. Come on, brother.
Yeah, just as one stated, brother, when you go into the read from the MST of A, as our prophet brought it, you know, that's no denial of that. You know, it should be along this line. For example, if another nation established a government and they established that government based upon the Sharia, for example, just say it was a Muslim nation or something like that, and they came forth with laws that were based on the Sharia, and they brought it forth to establish that law to govern them, it still came from the same law. For example, we say, you know, Act 1, you know, the Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of Moorish America. You see? And when you go into that, the grand body is on the manifest acting for the Prophet. And what we mean, for example, there wasn't even a grand body on the manifest until, what, 1995, you know, due to what had taken place. And if we get into dealing with law, for example, C. Kirkman Bay, he took, you know, law into his hands and created, he basically removed Act 1 and established himself as a moderator. But you have many Moors who came forth from that lineage and they present themselves as they are founded. I have no problem with that if that's what they do. But I'm just going into the aspect, there were 15 temples that were set up by our holy prophet. And all of those temples were dissolved and we can say revamped under the 1934 demonstration. And mostly everything came forth after that, Moorish Ken, was not based solely on the prophet's law. You see what I'm saying?
Brother,
so if you're in a temple, check, I'm gonna give it back to you. So if you are a member of a temple that came after the 15th temple that the prophet established, you came under the Kirkman Bay demonstration. Or if you, for example, were a part of the temple and there are new temples on the manifest that have those numbers 1 through 15 and they came from Kirkman Bay's demonstration, it's still not the temple number 1 the prophet established. It's still not the temple number 2. You see, but you wouldn't hold that against those Moors who don't know any better. You see what I'm saying? Because they love the prophet. They honor the prophet. The key is that's where the conflict come in at. You know, that's when the law was changed. So you had a brother, Frederick Turner L., for example, one of the most industrious Moors to come on the manifest, and his works have been hidden. You know, he was on the right path, you know, and he came up under that body and broke away from it. Just as our German Bay broke away from that. And a lot of the Moors went behind that brother Kirkman Bay because they were trying to hold on to the prophet, you know, and they seen that he had pretty much overthrown, you know, what was established. So the key is it right for our people to demonstrate self-determination and come forth with the prophet's law in order to establish law? That's supreme law. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman are empowered to make law and enforce law. You see, Islam.
My brother, you mentioned that. You said that, okay, Kirkman Bay, and I don't want to get into that because I don't do the grand body gangbang thing, but you mentioned, just for the sake of clarity, you say Kirkman.
That's history. That's history.
Yeah. I got you. Say Kirkman Bay changed the divine, basically changed Act 1.
Yes,
I think it would be said that there is no different than changing the Act 1 when he used the Grand Advisor and Moderator, Supreme Grand Moderator and Advisor, what have you, and then you changed it to Moorish America. You see what I'm saying? Actually, he didn't take it out of the Constitution, though. This actually, in the Moorish America, it actually been removed from the Constitution and given a new new interpretation, basically, from member to citizen, where you might say they're interchangeable, but I don't think the prophet made a mistake when he put member in there. I don't think he made a mistake.
So you think, pardon self, let me get you, I want to make sure I understand you correctly. So you believe in the Constitution of the Moorish American government, and Moorish America was removed from the government?
No.
I mean, from the...
What I'm saying is that the Constitution of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you said Kirkman Bay just basically changed Act 1. And I'm saying it's fair to say that Moorish America has changed not only Act 1, but Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, and Act 7, and Act 6. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, I concur.
And so the point that I'm making is that, to me, I think what the prophet brought have not been tried and tested since the prophet left the scene. So my mission is to try to use what the prophet used and establish exactly how the prophet established. Regardless of what the past says, the model is there. And in my eyes, this is not the model. Let my brother Rogers Bay chime in real quick. You there, brother?
Right. I just wanted to ask the question here, because what I noticed, right, what I think that would have been a little bit more clarity is if you had put up the picture with the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Because remember, there was the Constitution before the Moorish America. You see?
Yeah, but the thing is that we're living in a time where Prophet Noble Drew Ali evolved and manifested with the Holy Command of the Moorish Science. I mean, the Divine Constitution of Moorish Science Temple of America. That was the last document he left. So that's the last document that we should be using, in my view.
Right, but we have to remember the terms now, right? Why he said, okay, now we're dealing with unfoldment, and not only that, for us to take what he brought and save ourselves once we look at what every nation has. So we haven't changed what he did. What we did was unfold into having our Constitution, just like every other nation has theirs. You see? So we're not changing. We taking what he brought and bring it on a governmental level.
Okay. Hey, brother, I think you're trying to watch the show, and you're trying to watch the show and talk, and it's really interfering because people are going to get a lot of feedback from you watching the show. You should, if you get headphones, you got headphones?
Okay, I'm going to move away from it, right? Because what happened was, you're right, I'm watching the show and talking at the same time. Okay.
But if you put on headphones, it'll work better.
Right. Okay. No problem. I'm muted as I speak. But here's what I'm saying, right? Here's what I'm saying, Islam. What happened is, right, remember, we're dealing with what you call the unfoldment as to why the prophet said that, okay, I came for the third and fourth unborn generation. Okay? So that means if Drew Ali left us in 29, in order for us to unfold into something, that means we have to take it and do the job, finish it. That's why he said, okay, you use what I have. You see where I'm going? Let me finish the thought, and then I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna let you chime in. You remember, go back to the point when even Marcus Garvey said we're going to move from organization to organization until the unfoldment into government. The first organization was what? We know it was a civic organization using the same constitution which the prophet had already there. It's the same constitution. It just changed from the civic organization using the same constitution when it became a religious organization. So what the prophet did, he changed the name from the stations. Each station, the name changed. So when it was first introduced to the civic, that was one station. Then it moved to the religious, that was another station, which is what? The religious organization. Now when you unfold, it's the same constitution, you're only changing, guess what? The name again into the station which the constitution is being used for. Islam.
It's Islam. Islam, you was echoing pretty bad. I'm gonna give you a number to call, and maybe that won't be an echo because that's a cell phone, and them cell phones act a little bit funny. The thing is this: the thing is that I think a lot of people have problem with the fact that one want to call it unfolded and another want to call it altering, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I'm one that will call it altering. You know what I'm saying? And it's all love, but I'm one that will call it alter because I believe in to bring the things into manifest and what the prophet did. We don't need to alter any of the documents. We can create documents in conjunction with the documents, but we don't need to argue. We don't have to alter any of the prophet's documents. For example, let me share this real quick. For example, the prophet Noble Drew Ali knew exactly what he was doing. I have no doubt in my mind that the prophet knew what he was doing. So because the way that I see things, when I look at the changing of the Holy Quran and changing of the symbol, when I look at something like that, I'm saying, hold up. The prophet was given a message. He was divinely prepared. You know, now, I don't know if this is the Holy Quran that y'all use, but this says the Holy Quran. You know what I mean? Now, the point that I'm making, the prophet was divinely prepared. And if he is, which I agree, is divinely prepared, I don't think that we should tamper with the things that the prophet designed and said they were holy. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't develop them. I'm not saying that. But I just think, man, the prophet put a science behind everything he did. And for us to alter it will take the essence of the science away. What do you have to say about that, my brother Kemetic got that?
One want to call it unfolded and another want to call it
Are you there, brother? You got to unmute yourself.
Okay, what I was trying to show you, this is the side where the seal is still intact. All of the symbols that are on the manifest are there. But you have to remember this. Put it like this. I'll give you an example. If you are building a nation, the same symbols that the prophet brought, these are seated in those symbols. These symbols are seated in those symbols. Now, we could have took some other symbols that didn't have nothing to do with the crescent moon and star or other seven, you see? But being that we are in line with what the prophet demonstrate, this is not the conflict with what the temple is doing, you see? This was to make sure that all of the symbols that the prophet did bring, you could see the semblance of the truth in the government. Now, I say this, you know, I think that, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, you know, and I have nothing against that. But when it comes down to us as a people, we know this to be fact. There was a lot of suits, you know, lawsuits and everything as a result of these same symbols. We know that certain individuals established a monopoly on the symbols. And if you were to use certain symbols, certain Moors will try to take you to court, even though the Europeans said, don't put the prophet said, don't put the European on your brother, pardon self. You know, it's just like having a flag. If we go before the family of nations, we have to go forth with a distinctive flag. But even the flag itself is seated in the same measure that the prophet brought. It goes back to unfoldment. And that's another thing. A lot of Moors say, well, y'all say that flag is the flag. No, we never said the flag of the Moorish American government is the flag of the Moorish Science Temple. That has never been said. Our flag is the flag of all 60 million of our people. Because when we go before the UN, that is what they will be bearing witness to. You can't go there with a flag that's already exalted there and then say, I'm Moorish, but then you got the Moroccans with the same flag there. Because you'll be, basically it's an act of war to try to take somebody else's flag. You know, so this goes to the same law in regards to dealing with the symbols. The symbols are seated in the same thing the prophet brought. We didn't want to go all the way into the, we'll say, the gray areas or whatever, or just saying we're going to create something totally different. It had to be in conjunction, as we stated, with the prophet's law.
I think I'm gonna let my brother Hernandez L come in real quick, but let me just add real quick. Rogers Bay, I just sent you the other number. I'm gonna let my brother come in real quick, but let me add this. When you start talking about you had to create another flag, that's fine and dandy. But the prophet said, no, I don't know if you created, that's what did you say, my brother? Don't let me misquote you. Come on. Because I see you shaking your head.
What I was saying, my brother, is that if we are going before a nation, when you go before that nation, you got to have your own distinctive seal. You got to have your own.
Okay. Okay. So the prophet asked us in this book right here, what flag is the Moorish? Now, it's up to us. It's up to us to try to unravel the puzzle. Why Morocco is flying the flag that the prophet calls the Moorish flag. It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. What flag is the Moorish? You see what I'm saying? And so to say that this flag is inadequate.
Urgent question, right?
Absolutely.
You say what kind of flag is the Moorish, right? Not Moroccan.
That's right. He says a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. That's the answer. So it then what happens now is it going to take us to represent our true heritage and bring our flag back home and not create another one. Because if you know the true history, Morocco, when it was occupied, basically stole and adopted the flag. When the prophet made this statement, that was not the Moroccan flag. That was not the Moroccan flag when he made that statement. But before we go any further, hold up. Before we go, ask me the question and I'll answer it real quick, and then I'll get my brother Hernandez L in the conversation.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
Hold up. Are you there, Rogers Bay? Rogers Bay? He can't hear me. He needs some headphones. Come on, Rogers Bay. Anyway, Hernandez L, are you there?
Islam, can you hear me?
So, brother, you have been listening to the conversation, and brother, man, praise the Lord for your patience, brother. You got patience of a Zen master. And you know, brother, Tahaka making talk. And me and my brother Comedic had that. We was going at it, Rogers Bay. You were just like a Zen master. Brother, I pray to the Lord give me some patience like that sometime. Because I'll be ready to blurt out anything, man. And if I offend anybody, excuse me, I'm working on myself. I'm working on myself. But brother Hernandez, you've been listening to the conversation. Let's go. Brother, what do you got?
Let me say this. First, let me rise to my highest. Let me give all praise to Allah and honors to his prophet and to all of you. Let me just say this. I think the brother Comedic Adept, peace to you, brother, Islam. He just said the most, I guess the most poignant part, the most important part is that he clearly distinguished his organization from the temple. And that is something I haven't heard. And, you know, that was powerful to me because although I have been aware of the brother's organization, not necessarily of him before tonight, but of the organization for about 20 years, I didn't know much about it. I ran across some information here in Atlanta over the years, but hearing him say that makes it very clear that, you know, they are, I guess what the prophet would call a supporter or one, what's the word he used in sympathizer, exactly. So, and that's powerful. And to that, you know, I do want to say that, you know, their efforts on what they're doing, I'm definitely not against. But what I would say is that what Brother Taharka said earlier in the show is probably the most powerful piece I don't know, if you brothers are open to it, that, the brother mentioned a European that went out, in international waters and purchased an island. And, at this point, if you actually want to have an actual government, that is functional and is fully actualized as that, needs its own space and place. And for that to happen, that's something that, you would definitely have to take seriously to bring your goals and vision to fruition. But overall, I've learned a lot from this conversation, but that would be my first piece that I would add. Islam.
And Rogers Bay, I'm gonna let you in 1 second, brother. But let me say this: I'm from Maryland, and I know you had mentioned that his organization, brother, the actual founder of the organization is our good brother, Sheikh Pleasant Bay. I don't know him personally, but my teachers know him very personally. I mean, extremely personally, man. I'm talking about they learned together, they grew together. Extremely personally, man. So we're talking about giving honors to the brother Pleasant Bay and his efforts. I don't have to agree with my brother to love my brother and to strive with my brother to bring forth our liberation. The parts that I can't agree with, I'm gonna work with you. The parts that I can't agree with, I'm not going to be able to work on that part, but I can work on other fronts. So, because the truth of the matter is, the boot is on all of our neck, and we need everybody on deck. Period. Point blank. But come on, Moorish. Let my brother Rogers Bay come in because we had cut him off, and then I'm gonna let you come back in, Comedic add that, and then we're gonna take it around the circle one more time. Rogers Bay, are you there?
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I was trying to catch up on Brother Hernandez for a minute because I just missed out. So what was the draw?
Basically, he was in the middle of the field, basically giving honors to representing in the regard that nobody is claiming that the movement is the Moorish Science Temple, basically. He was giving honors for that.
Right. We've never said that, because what we did, right, and we looked at it, and we take it back to, like, take, for instance, the Temple of Osiris or the Temple of Set, and all those different temples that we have. Now, we know what the prophet has set up, but in order to lift and upbuild a nation, there is part and part that everything must play. You see?
Right.
Now, we know that how something was done to our people. So there had to be an apparatus where the temple or the prophet was going to establish to teach our people how to be themselves without being unmolested or being bothered. So we have never been in conflict with the temple.
See, my thing is this: when I look at the my brother, hold up, my brother, let me let my brother Comedic Adab come in, and then I'll get me a little commentary in, if you will.
It's long. I just want to give
Right.
This is the actual proclamation from the UN. I want to give you something. Listen to it. It stated, the United Nations delegate, DOCIP 14 Souvenu Tremblay 1209 Geneva Susi. And this was in 5507. When they received this declaration of proclamation from the government, this is what they stated. This proclamation, Declaration of the Moorish American Nation, includes everything needed here at the United Nations in order for you to be recognized as an indigenous people member state. We have been expecting your coming for nearly 60 years. Now go formulate a government amongst yourselves and return back to us, the United Nations, with a tally and census of Moorish citizenship. You see, this was the measure that was given, and this was in 07. You know, so they know we on the manifest and we getting ready to embark upon the mission. So we putting the proclamation out to our Moorish king. We are a government. When we say embryo state, embryo state as we are developing. We have to grow, but we are not trying to go alone. We need our brothers and sisters in the Moorish Science Temple of America. We need our brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam. We need our brothers and sisters who are in the Black Panther Party, RBG, 5% Nation, street organ, whatever you call yourself. We need to be one under our own government. That's the approach we are taking. Now, many have a misunderstanding and think that, oh, no one is trying to overthrow the prophet. No, one is in line with the prophet, because remember that I'm going to leave the European here long enough to teach you Moors how to run a government. So that states what his intention was. Yes, he established his temple as an education apparatus, but he intended that we become more than just, though. I want to ask you this question before we go on. When you go into the temple,
right,
it was established under a charter, right?
Right.
Was it established under a state charter or a federal charter?
The state of Illinois, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Now, I'm glad you emphasized that. You're correct. Now, when you deal with a state charter, the state charter would be subject to the grantor of that special state, right?
To a degree, but then you got to get into Heard's statute, and when you get into that's another conversation.
I'm familiar with Heard's, but now you're going into what you call ecclesiastical law, right?
That's exactly.
Now, let me ask you the question: when you deal with ecclesiastical body politic, my brother, if you go into the root of ecclesiastical law, it will tell you that is the law coming from a Roman Christian perspective, correct?
Well, if you use their definition, but
just answer that question for me.
That is correct, and then I'll let you go. Then I'll talk.
Oh no, I'm just trying to get you the answer, because I'm trying to go somewhere and show you something.
Absolutely. And
now let's go back to the prophet. Let's go back to what the prophet said in his works. He told the Moors he came to return Christianity back to Rome.
Absolutely.
So if he came to return Christianity back to Rome, then why would we go under a law that came from the Roman direction?
This is what it is. When you look at the teachings of the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and you look at him dealing with Heard's statute and ecclesiastic law, that enables us through this constitution, what he calls the greatest document, through this constitution, it gives us the ability to create what the Roman Catholic Church created, but the name is the Moorish Science Temple of America. To rule, to govern ourselves. When we talk about ecclesiastic, we really talk about under divine law. Ecclesiastic is the code word that gives you the connection to the divine. And in Saudi Arabia, they call that the Sharia, and so in different countries, there's different names to connect you to divine law. So that's what the prophet is talking about under Heard's statute. Now, when you look at the prophet Noble Drew Ali and he established the Moorish Science Temple of America, if he was to establish something separate from the Moorish Science Temple of America, there will be no reason to get behind all the politicians and put the numbers behind the politicians to put them in office. What that to me says is that there's a prophecy behind getting behind these politicians. The same way he used Heard's statute to put us in, as the prophet said, I went past my thumb around my elbow to get you into this government. The same way he did that, he did it with dealing with the politicians of South Side of Chicago. And the reason why he did that, and the reason why we waved the banner, the American banner, is because this is our government. And now, in order to be a part and parcel of this government, we must get in. We must get in and take our place in the affairs of men and bring it on back home.
Islam, bro, Tahaka. I ain't disputing that the prophet didn't do that. I'm glad you explained. I wanted you to give that clearly. So it lets you know he established a lawfully chartered religious organization, right?
No, society.
Under the United States of America, right?
It's a religious society no different than what the Catholic Church do when you go into.
I'm with you. But what I'm saying, he established it as a lawfully chartered organization under the state of Illinois, right?
Absolutely. And he has charters to be issued into every state throughout the United States and abroad.
Islam.
So we can't stop that.
It's Islam. Islam. Now I want to go somewhere. I wanted to make sure we made that point. Now, Native American tribes that are on the manifest, are they on the state charters or federal charters?
They're on the federal charter.
Islam. Now, that federal charter is still governed by the United States, even though a lot of people think our Native American kin is sovereign, right?
Our charters are not governed by the United States. No. Those state charters are not governed by Brother Sharif makes a statement all the time. Politics are always local.
It's Islam. Let me help you. Let me help you with this.
Go ahead, my brother. You got the floor, my brother.
Let me show you where I'm going. And pardon myself, brother. And I'm going to turn it.
1 second, Rogers Bay. You want to show something real quick.
Okay.
And then you got the floor.
Islam. This is my last statement. I wanted to go to the Native American aspect, is because Native Americans sit upon reservations, right?
Yeah, it was a grant. It was a granted to them. They didn't establish themselves. That's different.
Right. But they are sitting upon reservations. Right?
They was given that.
A reservation. When you go to a hotel room, let's make it simple. And there's no vacancy because all the rooms have been reserved. When you're trying to get that room, you're trying to get a reservation, right? Make a reservation, right?
Right, absolutely.
So I'm saying that to say this: a reservation is simply a place holding apparatus, which really is being utilized to hold the Moors back from their true governance of this land. So for those who think it's something to be Native American, they're really locking themselves out of being who they are. But yet, you don't have to be governed by the European under your law. You don't have to be governed by state or federal charter when you demonstrate self-determination.
But brother.
So now this is where your sovereignty comes from, Moore. And it is theocracy. That's the proper term. Go look it up. Theocracy, theocratic law. This is the law that
the prophet created this charter. They wasn't given to him. He created the charter. That's the will of the people. Let me let my brother Rogers Bay come in. Come on, my brother.
Gratitude.
You mentioned something which was it's a very important key. You mentioned that we were able or supposed to, what the Vatican is basically set up, what the Catholic Church is set up as we are, right? What our people are not missing is, keep this out, the Catholic Church is only the religious order of what? The Vatican. In other words, the Vatican is a nation state.
Absolutely.
That's what show me now where you can see that we have that nation state. Well, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to put this now. You remember when I read early on in the...
But let me answer that first. You said, show me where there's a nation state. The reason why we cannot produce like the Vatican is because all of us are jumping ship until it gets produced. We're jumping ship.
No, the unfoldment is what I'm telling you.
No, listen,
no, let me finish. I'm going to show you my point, what I'm saying. If you look according to how the Vatican was set up, the Italian government had to write within their constitution that they recognize the government as a sovereign power. Show me now where within the United States government that they've done that for us.
The only reason, and I'm telling you again, the reason why it has not been done, because too many people jump ship before they manifest the prophecies of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he established so many people to get in position of power by sheer numbers, but we can't get our numbers together because we lose confidence in the Prophet and we jump ship and start something new. Every 10 years or 20 years, there's something new.
No, brother, because look at the similitude. If you're going to use the Catholic Church, you have to look exactly at what's done, because we can't say that they've used what was done and then we haven't done the same. In other words, look at this. Okay.
No, I'm not saying literal. Let's not be petty and think I'm using every step-by-step literal. I'm talking about as it is established as a theocracy, as recognized a nation state. The Vatican is. That's what I'm speaking to. I'm not speaking to the step-by-step process.
Did not take over Italian government. Or the Vatican didn't say, okay, well, that's mine, and I want to be that. No. Self-determination requires for you to come and unfold into your own. You can't look at it no other way. Now, we can break down and go step by step from when the United States was created, what were we, how were we, what we unfolded it to, up until what we even using the Constitution that we use of today, which was from 1787 to 1789, and we're following that up to this day.
Well, brother, I don't think any of us would disagree with how to unfold into self-determination. I think the conversation becomes, what is the practical method, and what exactly did the Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught? Is what he's taught, is what he taught, is what you're practicing, as changing the Constitution and bylaws, changing, bringing a new flag, or making adjustments. I mean, in all due respect, is that what Prophet Noble Drew Ali meant for us? Or was his plan right beneath our noses on what he set up at the final convention when he said, today I have made you a nation? And now we have to figure out how to bring it into fruition. Or do we create new things?
Islam, Brother Talk. Let me say this right here. One more measure.
And then after him, my brother Rogers, man, after him, I gotta let my brother y'all got me all worked out. See my brain, man, I done studied so much over the years, man. My brain got to pull a lot of stuff out. Because y'all know I've been jumping around, man. I got to pull my information out. But then after you, my brother, I'm going to let my brother Dan Dazil go on in. And then we got about 15 minutes. And I'm going to let y'all have y'all say. And we might have to do this again. It's a beautiful conversation. Come on, my brother. Committee got that.
Islam. And when you go into the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 21, right, it states that the will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. And I heard you speaking about people jumping ship here. And then there was a question asked to us by the UN as well. Is there a unanimous will among our people to be free? When you say unanimous will, you're talking about, is the will that the people have in the same direction? Is everybody willing to be a nation? Is everybody willing to demonstrate self-determination? So the will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. And if our will is in conjunction with the will of the great God, Allah, meaning we have conformed to his will, and look up that word conform. We don't submit to the will, we conform to the will, you see. And once we do that, man, salvation, our God, and unity. Because in the Moorish Holy Quran, it states this, and I'm gonna stand down on religion, chapter 35, ayat 10. It states, the providence of Allah is ever all his works, and he ruleth and directed with infinite wisdom, and he hath instituted laws for the government of the world.
Hey, brother,
the government of the world. Hold up. And he hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conformeth to his will. Islam.
And Islam, brother, I agree with you 2000% about the self-determination piece. I agree with you about the laws. Where I'm in conflict with is that I know for a fact that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was sent by the great God of the universal law. I know that there's a science behind everything that he brought. He said, every word I speak is spirit. You know what I'm saying? And I know that I don't want to change this, because most people call this book the Circle 7, and they don't even know the science behind the emblem on the front of the book. You know what I'm saying? We haven't even got that yet. You know what I'm saying? And so, brother, when we look at the divine constitution and bylaws, another document, when we look at the divine constitution,
the question is not,
When we look
Yeah,
at
the question is not to change. It's not to change that. Don't look at it like that, more, because it's not to change the temple law. The temple law shall remain what it is.
So,
But
okay,
we're just saying that government being established so that the temple also being a part of that same measure of unity. You know, we are one under the prophet's law, brother. It's not to change the temple law. You see what I'm saying?
I'm gonna tell you something. When you look at, and then I let my brother, Moorish American National Republic, Moorish American Republic, they have a whole unique constitution, which they are saying that they are the government. You understand what I'm saying? I'm gonna try to pull it up in a second. They have a whole unique constitution where they are saying that they are the government. Now, they're not using any of the prophets' documents. They're not using, they haven't changed anything. They actually almost rewrote a whole constitution for whatever the movement is called. I think that's to the left, because I just know it's a non-profit organization that he call it the government.
No, you can't be the government and an organization.
Yeah, so let me
Nothing
let my
against
brother, and then they'll chime in real quick.
Islam.
Come on, brother.
Yeah, I think the conversation again is it's a very strong conversation, because you know, brother Comedic Adept is, you know, he's expressing some high ideals and obviously is well studied, you know, in the prophet's teachings, and that's obvious. And I don't think that the brother has or the organization at that, and being, you know, and again, before today, I really hadn't done an in-depth, and even today, this is the most information I've ever gotten on the organization. But while I was in silence, listening in for the first part of the show, you know, I was looking up the things that you guys were talking about. And, you know, I learned a few things about the organization, but I think that the aims and the goals are, you know, are in line. I just think that if you were, you know, to make certain moves, and like you said, you want to work with the temple, I think you should have certain people from the temple who are, you know, who can maybe assist and maybe help you put some things together. One thing that I noticed when I was looking up the website, and I'm gonna share my screen real quick. This is something I haven't seen before, and you know, there's a lot of people who want to you know, do license plates and things, but this is the first time I've ever seen somebody that had a license plate give detailed instructions and then basically make the distinction. This is not to, you know, substitute for your state plate. You know, this is more like a, you know, a plate to put on the front of your car if that state does not require a front plate. And they even show here there's 31 states that do. So, you know, I don't find it like how we've run into several organizations on the show that I find to be like disingenuous in their, you know, in their deeds and actions. And I don't see that. I do not pick that up from these brothers. And, you know, like you said, I hope we can build again, because what they're doing, it is industrious and it is Moorish. I just think that, you know, what I was listening to Harker Bay break down, you know, he's more at variance with how some of the moves were made, because certain things are looking different, reading a little different. But even in that, I mean, it's slight enough to where I can see where he's going, because, you know, there's been times where I've heard other renditions of the divine constitution and bylaws, and I was actually offended and taken back by how it was changed. So I can see where they were changing member to citizen of their particular government. But again, I think maybe a round table should be had, and you know, so that we can really look at what really needs to be done, because obviously they're making an attempt, and you know, us at the temple who are faithful, we're making our attempt, you know, And so obviously there's a connection, and I think some more dialogue needs to be had in this whole demonstration.
I think one of the most important things that we have to remember is that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says we're not to cause any confusion or overthrow the constitution of the said government. So if we are going to create things that even give the inkling of confusion, we should reconsider. That's my position. If it gives an inkling of confusion,
and and that's why I said what I said. I'm open to that. Like I did notice that, and I was like, this could cause some confusion. Also, referring to the Constitution and bylaws, where it says, we're not here to cause confusion or overthrow the government. That's something that definitely should be clarified, because although I don't feel that these brothers are intending that, I know that there are other groups that do. And even so, for their benefit, it would also make sense to do so that they can, because they won't, as far as I'm concerned, those type of groups are the groups that's out here fleecing the people, confusing people. So when you do have something that may be a slight variance or twist, it would definitely be beneficial to say that, look, we are not trying to overthrow or try to do this, but I do understand where the brother is coming from as far as making the prophet's words come to full fruition in our day and time, which is something I think we're all striving for. So, again, I do feel what you're saying on that, Taharka. It makes sense, because when you start to deviate, sometimes things can get a little, especially when you're new to the information. So it can look, you can get easily confused, but there needs to be some type of, there should definitely be some more communication for groups that are true sympathizers of the temple and aren't trying to do anything crazy. Then we should definitely be making those connections and seeing how we can assist each other, if everything is on the up and up.
I think, brother, that we are talented enough that we don't have to inject anything in what the prophet taught. I think we can make things in conjunction. I really do. I think we could create things in conjunction and not superimpose. I don't think it's necessary to take out member and add citizen. I think you can actually really create a constitution. That's me.
True.
And I think it's in conjunction. You don't have to touch that. That's unnecessary. You don't have to touch the Holy Quran and change it up. That's unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that is destined to never ever swallow well, go down well with the Moorish American population. That's just my opinion. So I think that should be revisited and then head back to the battlefield, because I don't think that's just gonna go down well with a lot of Moorish Americans. I know it don't go down well with me, because I think I understand the plan of the ages of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He said, I come with a plan of the ages. I think I really do understand the plan of the ages. And I'm trying to work that plan of the ages. And it doesn't consist of changing anything, because I think the prophet said, when he said, today you are a nation, I declare you a nation. That reminds me of Prophet Muhammad when he said, today I have perfected your religion. There is nothing more that we can do. Now we can add on to it, and we can build from it, and we can bring it into fruition. But to change it, nah, we got it. We got what we need.
That's what the miscommunication is coming in, is where you thinking that we are demonstrating government to remove the temple.
No, I don't think that, brother. I think the document that the prophet produced
like that.
I think
we're not trying to change temple.
No, that's what I'm saying. When I see these documents, they're not as the prophet left them. They have been changed.
I respect that. I listen, I honor and admire your love for the prophet, brother. It's sincere.
And I think people want to take me as worshiping the prophet and all that. No, I just believe, I have confidence, I have faith that this man, known as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was divinely prepared. And every word that he spoke was spirit. And every word that he spoke and hit the paper was spirit. And there is no need to change the word of God.
And he's still alive, more. The prophet is not dead.
Yeah, I agree, more. But what I'm saying, if every word he spoke was spirit, let's just add on. Let's not change one jot or tittle, as it would say in that old Piscine record. Not one jot or tittle should be changed until Shiloh come.
Islam.
Islam. Islam.
Can I add
have
on
a
more?
document on the Moors. It's called the Moorish Consortium. I'm gonna send it to our Moorish kin, and it's actually what we call a treaty. You know, to our Moorish kin, the uniting of the Moorish American states. Because what we have to emphasize is that to bring us together, we got to emphasize Moorish, divine, and national movement. You see what I'm saying? That's what encompasses all of us, regardless of what title that we take or whatever name that we take. We are Moorish, divine, and national movement. And this Moorish nation, do you know that the Moorish government has been on the manifest, not in the present form that you see it now through us, but the Moorish government has been on the manifest, you know, since the 1800s and prior to that. But why haven't that Moorish government come to your aid?
More?
Ask that question.
More? Because...
And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of people don't know Moorish kin. Let me ask you this question. A lot of people honor the Moroccan Treaty. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing against that.
We ain't got time to play them guys.
In our questionnaire, we are asked the question, what is the name of our ruler? And the answer given was what? In the East. Sultan, right? Correct?
Islam.
Okay, so now when you go into the East now, because our people need to know this, during the time when the Moors were expelled, and you look at the Ottoman Sultanate, it was overthrown in 28 and all of that come up into this era time of Morocco also being taken out off of the count, meaning they removed the Sultanate. Those who infiltrated, who I'm speaking of the Zionist Jews, my brother. They killed the true father that was ruling there, the last Sultan. And then they placed Moulay, our son manifests now. His bloodline is Zionist. It didn't come from the Sultan that came before him. Do the research on it. So this is why you don't see the Moorish government on the manifest to assist us, because we know the Zionist agenda has been in opposition to the Moors. And so this is why you see those who are truly Moroccan citizens that are in exile, they hold their flag up in a symbol of being in distress. They have been exiled, my brother. The original people that were there are no longer there. So how can we enforce the treaty if the Sultanate has been removed and now you have those who have accepted the title of presidents?
Well, I don't subscribe to that nonsense.
Rome, basically. Islam.
Let me add on more. Islam.
I don't really subscribe to none of that, so that don't even pertain to me. I don't believe the Prophet Noble Ali meant any of that. But let's take it around the circle. My brother Hernandez, come on. I want to wrap it up. Come on, my brother. The floor is yours.
Yeah, Islam. This is what I like to say to what you just said a few minutes ago, to Harker. You made an excellent point, though, because you know, whether we're talking about the Moorish Science Temple or we're talking about martial sciences, and I'm now 38. I've been studying since I was 5 years old. And one of the things that has always been of most importance is lineage. I had a grandmaster tell me one time I was invited, who was one of my teachers. I was invited by one of my senior brothers to come to Jamaica to train. And so I called my grandmaster and I said, is it okay if I go train with this brother in Jamaica? He said, oh yeah, it's fine. He said, but I just wanted to let you know he's no longer under my tutelage. And I said, well, you know, what happened? And he said, well, in these sciences, he said, when you hold a lineage, it's important to keep it pure. And so the brother began to make certain changes and innovations. And he said, I have no problem with that, but you have to call it something else, you know? if you're going to start making changes and innovations. You know, if you're going to hold on to the mantle and be what it is, it has to stay the same as it was, passed on down the line. Just how when in the Moorish Science Temple, you know, most Moors, especially sheiks and adepts, will start to break down their lineage all the way back to Mili Il, pretty much. So that's, you know, that's something to consider, you know, I think for the brothers, because that could really make a true difference. And I think if you want to garner the temple support in its entirety, regardless of GB, Grand Body, then, you know, I think that might be a smart move, because, you know, the connection with the UN is great. And there's been a lot of brothers that have reached out to the UN and, you know, sit in different meetings in different capacities. But dealing with a letter like that, you know, and their response to you, you know, that's something that should be taken quite seriously. And, you know, as to what Tahaka was saying, we probably, you know, would be in better shape keeping those things pure. And again, if, you know, if we're creating different governmental departments, it's probably wiser to then, as the prophet said, utilize what the European has taught us regarding setting up government, look at the clear-cut footprints in that regard and set it up accordingly. And that way, when we move forward, we can move forward professionally and in accord with what the governmental standard across the board and across the world. And that may, you know, require, and I don't know if you've done this or not, but that may require hiring several attorneys that can assist us in that. You know, so there's a lot of work to be done, you know, with what you're speaking of. And at the same time, brothers like myself and Tahaka Bey are working on our end to, you know, actualize what it is that, you know, we believe that the prophet has intended for us to, you know. But at the end of the day, I can see that the goals are quite similar. And so, again, I would say, you know, a roundtable discussion should probably be had in that regard, because if you guys were willing to make those slight changes to, you know, to bring it back in line, because it does, you know, it does change things, and it, you know, it can make, like Tahaka Bey said, you know, that's a tough pill to swallow at the end of the day, even though obviously, you know, he has no problem with you personally. And it's just like, you know, with that, you know, just like I mentioned, as far as my metaphor dealing with the martial arts, you know, that's something that you might want to keep pure or create a new manifest, a new constitution, if you will, if necessary. But I believe that what we have is, you know, already set up to make those necessary steps that we need to make. But I'll end there. Islam.
Islam, my brother Rogers Bey, the floor is yours, my brother.
I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate the show on tonight. Like Brother Hernandez said, I think, and we've always been open to having discussions. So it's not, you know, that we're asked to people think that we're isolated to ourselves, because there's enough work for everybody, you know, to do. So we know we look forward to, you know, us dialoguing again. You know, Tahaka, you and I, we're always speaking. So, you know, we're just thankful for the opportunity to put something out there so our people can see that how, you know, there's work that's being done on their behalf. So with that, I say, you know, take my fez off to you and say, Islam, it's been a beautiful conversation on tonight. And we look forward to, you know, dialoguing with you again on many more fronts.
Islam. So my brother, Comedic Adat, the last word is yours and I'll close. Brother, give us something to think about.
Islam, you kind of dropping a little bit in your volume. What you said more?
I said, let me see. I said, can you hear me?
It's still kind of low.
Let me do that.
I don't know if you turned your volume down by mistake or what.
I don't know what I did, but can you hear me now?
Oh, it's showing that I'm getting some feedback through the brother Rogers Bey.
No, not me. I'm not.
It say his pitch.
You can go ahead and speak.
Who has the symbol of the number 7? It says the brother that has the number 7, the circle 7 logo.
Yeah, he did it right now.
Hold up. Pardon, self. Let me see. It might be. It may be me.
That's all that science and all that electricity inside of that brain. That's what it is. We about to light that turn on fire. I know. You been, I hope you wasn't thinking that.
No. I thought it. You know how Rome ain't never built nothing to last.
You probably seen them shows. I was swinging my arms and going crazy. And you probably said, man, I got to go in this line there with the hummer, baby.
Islam. I want to give you a word briefly, and this is dealing with the MST of A. Our beloved brother. It's from the Book of Fire, the Exhuming of a Nation. Listen to this, and this will give you a clean insight. It states the MST of A as third-party custody, amicus curiae. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., when functioning on all points, is not an ordinary organization, at least in the sense it is restricted to social, civic, and military or religious camaraderie. The greatest thing to observe about the MST of A is Act 5, that it clearly states it is merely an organization and actually belongs to the Moorish government and not the other way around. It has been existing in confusion condition for the past 70 years. Among its mostly religious and chartered obligations, it also holds the distinct purpose of claiming third-party custody of the Moorish Americans. Like other embassies, the MST of A can also represent the Moors to foreigners. The MSTA holds an original third-party status of the estate of the Moorish people, being held hostage under the written contract called the 14th and 15th Amendments. To understand this lawful purpose of Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple of America, we need to define the following legal terms from the Law Dictionary. Third-party beneficiary are for those who benefit at the promise that is made in a contract, but who is not a party to the contract. A person not a party to an insurance contract who has legally enforceable rights thereunder. A prime requisite to the status of third-party beneficiary under a contract is that the parties to the contract must have intended to benefit the third party, who must be something more than a mere incidental beneficiary. And what he was getting into is the powers of the MSTA after the prophet had established this special body, but the powers can't be unleashed if our people don't have a unanimous will, is what I'm getting at. We got to think along the lines of being right. I'm gonna give you a prime example. The Europeans, they might hate each other, but when they go up there in them in them chambers to make them laws, and they say we finna get these Negroes and or whatever they want to call us, and we taking them off the count, they agree to that. That's something that we lack as a people. When we come together, we might establish unity, but by the time we come up with the thought of unity, we don't hold the thought of unity. It's out the door, because some conflict of some another basically cause us to go at war and variance with each other, because one feel like this is more superior to come this way, or I should come this way. Competition. So rather than seeing ourselves on a competitive level as a people, we have to demonstrate salvation, our God, and unity at all costs, regardless of what your ideological expression may be. Because man's God today is not the same tomorrow, because as man grows and unfolds, his God unfolds. And that's why we are getting into the aspect of dealing with what may be seeming like it's major in regards to dealing with citizenry. Our prophet called the Moors under the MSTA, he said they were citizens under the United States government, right? So what's wrong with being citizens of your own government if he intended that we build our own government? Islam.
Islam. With that, family, I want to thank y'all for coming into and sharing your evening with me. But let me say this. I want everybody to know that your brother Tahaka Bey is pro-Drew Ali. I have confidence. I've studied for over 20 years. Y'all might see me jump in and man, trust me, man. I've studied for over 20 years, and I may give you a hint of what the real science is. I may have not produced the full measure. It's not necessary right now. This is YouTube. What I'm trying to do is excite you and get you interested. Once you're interested, then there's a possibility that you can be taught. But without being interested, you can never be taught. I have Prophet Noble Drew Ali, let me say it clearly, to be the prophet of God. I'm not talking about nothing spooky. I'm talking about he came with an understanding that would get you out of the degradation and the oppression that has been placed upon us by the European nations, and to give us some earthly salvations. And I'm talking about real food, real clothing, real shelter, real temple, real science, real spirituality, real government, earthly salvation. Then he came with a divine salvation, which consists of your connection to the universe, the universal creator, etc., on and on and on. He gives it to us step by step. Most of us miss some of the steps because we're not watching his steps. When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was getting the attention of the politicians and getting behind the politicians, that move right there, as they used to say in the street, don't watch me, watch my moves. That move right there was a self-telling prophecy of what we must do. When he says, as my brother Kemetic Adap said, that we are citizens of the United States or the free government, whatever, that tells me right there, there's no need to create something new, which we have the right to. Don't get it twisted. We have the right to. There's no need to create nothing new because what we got is ours and we can obtain it through the greatest document, which is the United States Constitution. But the whole thing is that maybe we are missing the footsteps of the prophet. Maybe we are missing the footsteps of the prophet. Now, I know that we have self-determination. Sure, I think it'll be wonderful if brothers can step outside of the Moorish Temple of America and create an independent state in the government. I think that's the noblest thing that one would attempt to do. But the problem that I have, you cannot do it on the shoulders of changing documents that we have to be holy and divine. A lot of people will not swallow that. You're not going to get, you'll get secular support when you change a document that someone determines to be holy and divine. It's kind of like when you look at the Holy Quran of Mecca, and my brother Azim Hopkins Bey said, you know, the Holy Quran cannot be translated. So I went to learn Arabic so I could know what exactly is being said. You know, because the Holy Quran is written in such a way that it's, if you will, it's old poetic Arabic, if you will. It's not the common spoken Arabic, but it's written in such a way that you can't really translate it into any other language. You have to learn the language. Why is that? Why is that? That is done for the for my wisdom tells me, so nothing, not one dot could be changed. You could go back to it, and it's always going to be the same, whether it's 100 years from now, whether it's 200 years from now. When you look at the divine constitution and bylaws of the Moorish Temple of America, and you look at the divine constitution of America, it takes off the divine constitution of America. This is the divine constitution and Moorish Temple of America, the divine constitution and bylaws. There's no longer no more bylaws. Okay? That's changing and taken away. When you're talking about something divine, it's not a good thing to add or take away. It was taken away. Where's the bylaws? They're gone. Entitled. Where is the member? It's gone and changed into citizen. Where is the Moorish Temple? It's gone and changed to America. I'm saying I think it's a noble ideal to strive for independence and government, just like any other nation, just like the PLO did, just like when the Soviet Union fell and you had the people in the Soviet Union creating nations one after another. I think it's a noble thing. However, when you begin to take something holy that thousands or millions of people consider holy, and then you change it, that could cause immediate confusion. Now, hey,
let me ask you this: read some of that Constitution of the Moorish American government.
It's the same exact thing, brother. I understand it is the same exact thing. It's just words have been changed. So it changes from the Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Temple of America is empowered to make laws and enforce laws. The divine constitution of Moorish America said the Grand Sheik and Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of Moorish America. That's just not how the prophet wrote it. I don't think the prophet made a mistake, if you will. I think he wrote exactly what he wanted. I think we can build and born a government out of the Moorish Temple of America. I think if we knew the science behind how he established the Moorish Temple of America, then a lot of Moorish Americans would be in a better place, because I think we have a misunderstanding of how he established it. And that's what I got to say about it.
Do you know the functions of a consulate, my brother?
Brother, I think we're going to have another conversation. I'm just saying that I just don't think it's in the best interest to change anything that is holy and divine. I
respectfully agree to disagree with you, my brother.
I just don't think it's in the best interest to change anything that's holy and divine. Because if some people hold these things holy, you're never going to get the support. You're always going to have somebody fighting against you. Number one will be me. One moment.
So when he first introduced the Constitution of the Holy Temple of Science, right? And then he used the same Constitution to make it the Moorish Science Temple of America. Was that, you saying you're okay with that?
What I'm telling you, that was his original thought. So if he chose to manifest and evolve his original thought, and at the end he says, today I've made you a nation, what right do I have to change his original divine thought?
So here's
he has the right to do that. I don't have the right to change his. He is divinely prepared, not me.
Right, but here's the last part, and then we'll agree to have another discussion, at another time. So if right, we're supposed to unfold into a government, right, around the year 2000, right?
Right.
You're saying that how you would be okay with using a whole completely different constitution made up from our thoughts and our mind from Act 1.
No. What I'm saying is, I think.
Right, please clarify that, because that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I think that we can develop a constitution, have it brought to the table, have it accepted, and move forward. There's no need to change divine constitution and bylaws of the Moorish Temple of America.
From within our thoughts, you're saying. we need to come up with.
No, you definitely will have to draw from the lessons of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, without a doubt. You might want to use magistrate and subject. You might want to use unity. You might want to use local, state, and federal. Some of the things that they might use, whatever. But you decide as a group. You just don't change something holy and divine. That's my point. That's my point. You just don't change something holy and divine. But I don't want to go on and on, brother. You my guy, brother. We gonna talk again. Let me share this, brother. We gonna talk again. Peace and love, family. You know, Rogers, baby. We gonna talk again. We gonna do this again. All is well. So, family, listen. Okay, so so look, this is the thing, family. I'm telling you, I'm asking y'all to go and subscribe to this link if you are in the chat. If you're not in the chat, look at the bottom of the page and subscribe to Tahaka Bay Live. I'm telling you, family, I am going to do some work on Tuesday. One of the first jobs that I'm going to do, I'm going to punch in. I'm going to sign up and I'm going to punch in. And the reason why I got to sign up and punch in, because this guy is a provocateur. This guy is all full of scandal and he caused so much confusion. As I said, I want to keep Moorish World TV. I want to keep the integrity and I want to keep the flow of teaching on this platform. I don't want my Temple Moors and my people of Moorish America that are really trying to build something get caught up into this social media fiasco as I expose these guys that are trying to stop us that are really trying to do the work. So we need this type of channel, Tahaka Bay Live, uncut. I'm going to show and prove. For example, if you didn't hear earlier, I'll give you some of the evidence that I have that this guy is not right. Listen up.
I want to inform you that I have contacted the FBI.
This is Michael Edwards. This is the one that agree with everything Sinetta say and do. This is the guy that always starting trouble. Not only does he start trouble within the black media, not only did he got their page taken down. Sure, he got that page taken down. He's an agent. And you'll see at the end of this, that's right, I said it, he's an agent. And you will see at the end of this that the brother has told people that he was going to YouTube about them. And so I want y'all to be careful about these people. When you're teaching to uplift people, there will be moles, there will be plants. When I find them, I'm going to let you know. And I found one. Listen. Check it out.
I want to inform you that I have contacted the FBI in my state. I have contacted IC3. You should know what that is. You should know. You're doing internet terrorism, you should know. And I have also contacted the local authorities. And I've taken measures and steps also with YouTube and my lawyer.
There you go. So that's Michael Edwards. We're going to talk about him on Tahaka Bay Live on Tuesday. Not only will we talk about Michael Edwards, we will also address the brother that the syndrome, and I'm looking for the name of it. And maybe my brother Comedic Adap or somebody may give me the name of it. If you get the name of this syndrome, please email me at Tahaka Bay Live, because I want to use the correct terminology of somebody that jumps from one organization to another one. It's like gang hopping. Okay, I'm with the Bloods this week. Next week, I'm with the Crips. Okay, the blue people winning this week. I'm with the blue people. Okay, I'm mad at y'all this week. I'm with these people. Okay, I'm with y'all this. And this is what this brother do. And then he got a channel that always belittle somebody who he left. You know, and now he's on a mission to belittle the Moorish Temple of America. My brother Comedic Adap. He gave the breakdown, and like I said, I don't get into the grand body gangbanging, but the brother gave a historical account of what happened in the Moorish Temple of America, and quite frankly, I must confirm, I must agree that the brother is correct. I must agree. I can't deny run for truth. However, this guy that I'm talking about is planning to do a show to try to validate and claim that that is the real Moorish Temple of America. That's what this brother's doing, creating confusion and division. Let me tell you what the real Moorish Science Temple of America is, family. For anybody want to know? Anybody want to know what the real Moorish Science Temple of America is? This is your brother Ta'aka Bay speaking. The real Moorish Science Temple of America is, or will be, the one who produced what the prophet produced and more.
Islam. Islam. Hey, brother,
come on, brother. Come
on. The brother Grimleon L. You know, I'm very familiar with that brother.
You might want to come on the show.
I'll say this about that the Moorish brother is that the brother is easily swayed. That's what I learned about him. If someone attacks that particular doctrine and he feel like he don't have a defense for it, he cast it off and then he'll jump to the next best thing smoking. That's his MO. You know, he's not one that is rooted in what it is he say he's standing on. And that's my brother, you know, because we agree to disagree as well. You know, we got a lot of that Western Freemasonry up in it. You know, and
yes. Oh, hey, come on, stop. I'm coming to Georgia.
Yeah, that's what his loyalty is. That's what his loyalty is. And I tell the brother all the time, I say, brother, that's the only issue I have with you, because your loyalty can't be to the prophet and those who took him off the count. You see what I'm saying? It's impossible.
What you say, brother? Say that one more time. What y'all do?
Islam. I said, you know, I was saying that your loyalty can't be to the prophet and with those who were against the prophet, basically. Our prophet was a revealer of the light. He was not a concealer of the light. And then he got Lord Abel with him. I'm sorry about that. He got Lord Abelard with him. He's a plagiarist.
Oh my goodness.
Half defends the prophet.
Hey, Rogers, man, you don't know what you did.
Yeah, he half defends the prophet partially. We don't know. Go ahead, speak, yeah, he half defends the prophet. He ain't even sure. So birds of a feather flock together when it comes to them two brothers there. You know, so I even set a rebuttal out concerning Lord Abba after he let our prophet get slandered by Ali Muhammad a few years ago.
And not only that, he runs the Sinetta to do a presentation about me, and Sinetta got videos calling our prophet a child molester.
See, and that's what I'm talking
He took it down today. I mean, shout out to Sinetta for the honorable thing to do. He took the video down today. He took it down today. But now I've known Sinetta longer than me. He's known Sinetta longer than me. And and I want to say we consistent over here at Moorish World TV, but we're going to take this, I guess you want to call it, exposing to the Ta'aka Bay Live. And I'll be going live on Tuesday to talk about some of these issues. And I want to say this, family. When y'all see me doing these issues on Ta'aka Bay Live, know for sure I'm in line with the laws. Because my brother Sinetta said to me, he said, brother, you be going at people, but that ain't religious. What? I can't defend myself? I haven't cussed anybody out. I haven't jumped out the window and went crazy. I just speak the truth. Now, with my energy, it may seem like I'm cussing you out, but I'm really not. The Prophet Obadiah Ali says, and I stick to this law. He said, we are not to speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group. Now, let's stop for a second. When we start talking about radical, we have to ask ourselves, what was the prophet saying in that time? Was he telling us to shut up and don't express the truth? Because in the true sense, what the prophet was teaching, as we know in one of the conventional sense of what radical means, was extremely radical of that time. So did he mean that we don't speak the truth because people don't like it? No, the prophet also teaches us it's not the fault of the truth, because truth is amicable. That is in our Quran. If people are offended, it's not the fault of the truth. So the prophet has never used that to silence us, and I will not be silenced. Secondly, he says, speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group. These brothers are so disorganized and causing so much confusion. It's ridiculous. They are not a member of any organized group. And nor will I speak to the individual. I will name the individual and I will address the ideal. Because man, ideal is his God. And as his ideal fold, man's unfold. As man God fold, his ideal unfold. As his ideal unfold, his God unfold. Vice versa. So I will always speak to the ideal family. So any Moorish American and any elder, when you hear me address these hot topics, know for sure I'm not speaking to the individual. I'm only speaking to the ideal in which they manifest and try to mislead, whether it's direct or indirect, intentional or unintentional. I will stand in the defense of the gospel without a doubt. It doesn't matter who it may be. If you against the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you can best believe that you against me. Salute. Man, I'd like to welcome my guest. Black News 102 ain't got nothing on me. Peace and love, peace and love. TWOCO. I'll be that more you gonna remember. I'm gonna be that more you gonna remember. I'll be that more you gonna remember. Y'all notice he ain't come back in here and say nothing. Cause I got that thing go bang bang. Let's go. I'll be that more you gonna remember. I'm gonna be that more you gonna remember. I'll be that boy you gon' remember. Talk the big front line till the law come a number. I'll be that boy you gon' remember. Be ready. I'll be that boy you gon' remember that time. I'll be that boy you gon' remember. Talk the big front line till the law come a number. I'll be that boy you gon' remember. Hey yo. I'll be that boy you gon' remember. Hey yo. I'll be that boy you gon' remember. Talk the big front line till the law come a number. Yeah, that's right. Let me take a picture of that. I gotta take a picture of that. Peace and love, family. I'm out. Peace and love to my brother Sinetta. Thank you for taking the video down. I appreciate you, my brother. Just for that, just alone, I got to give you a pass. And we got to keep it moving, and we got to uplift our people. We got to move on. Peace, love, peace, joy.